The story I have chosen is The Country of the Blind, written by H.G. Wells. The story begins when a mountain climber called Nunix accidentally fell into the country of the blind. This reminds him about an old rhythm. In the country of blind, the one-eyed man is king. He thought that he could teach the citizens about sight, however, no one believes him, and he was isolated. He continued living in this country and fell in love with a woman called Bedena Sirot. He wanted to marry her, but to get a permission, he needed to remove his eyes. At last, Nunix chose to leave the country and kept his sight. In the aspects of human nature, there are a tendency to have a family in this society. People in the village love among themselves and little children. They build families. There are also division of neighbor. When Nunix returned to the country, people assigned him a job to harvest. People have different work to complete in this community, and they worked as a whole. Works of imagination exist in this country. As the blind make their own music and singings, we can see that they have the sense of art and entertainment. Compatibilism occurs when Nunix has the motivation and view to marry Medena, and he need to choose whether to trade his sight for the marriage or not, and he did not choose the trade. For human development, the blind believes in skepticism. They disbelieve the concept of sight and doubt with what Nunix said, through he was a bad man. Darwin's theory of evolution applies in this story, which there are biological evolutions about changes between generations. First, only some of the villagers were ill and lost their sight. And after years of evolution, everyone in the village are blind. Moreover, Nunix thought of civilization. He wanted to pass his experience and knowledge of vision to the blind, and he became the one-eyed man who civilized the country of the blind. Obviously, he did not do so. In terms of human relations, the forbidden love between Nunix and Medena is a good example. As Nunix is the outsider with sight, and Medena was the daughter of Yoga, their love wasn't blessed by the people in the village, and they opposed their marriage. At last, Nunix gave up his love in order to maintain the sight. Indoctrination applied in this story, where Nunix learned to become a member of the blind society. He says nothing about the sight again, and he adapts their lifestyle and work as normal citizens in the country. The genre of this story is soft science fiction, based on social science in psychology and sociology. There was no description on scientific theory or concept in this story. Examples are the struggle between marrying Medena or maintaining the sight. Also, how an outsider builds relationship with blind people with different culture, that the majority takes over the minority. The setting of time of the story is in near future, that the country of blind may exist one day. However, the technology level in the story is low. This may not be a good idea to set up a story in the near future. It will be more reasonable if the story is set in the past. There are social effects of time travel. The civilization of place in Nunix came from was very different from the country of the blind. Next, for the setting of place, it was deep inside the mountain, where are wildlife and plants everywhere. This is a good idea, as readers are familiar with mountains, and we can imagine a clear picture about the country of the blind. This story has a free air plot, set up by the accident of Nunix fell into the country. Then the turning point appears when he went into the village and lived. The worsening situation is that no one believed in Nunix about sight, and he felt isolated and helpless that he went out of the village. The climax is the fight between Nunix and the young man when they opposed his marriage to Medena. The flow of this story is clear and realistic. Also, the author clearly shown how the incident happens and develops. The technological level, as I've mentioned before, it was unadvanced in the village. People are not relying in any machines or electronic devices, and this is suitable because the story focusing on conflict of culture but not in the technological development of the country. There are likable protagonists. Nunix is the everyman. He is similar to the reader, living in the modern society with sight, and the antagonist is the blind villagers. If the character have too much love, the whole story will change. which means that Nunex will lose his sight and marry Medana. Or if a loyal friend in country of blind supports Nunex and believes in his story of sight, perhaps he or she can convince the villagers to accept his uniqueness and give his permission to let Nunex marrying Jacob's daughter. Author used show don't tell method. He describes the country of the blind. For example, the villagers touch Nunex to sense his appearance, describe Nunex's feelings of being isolated that no one believed in how he says about sight, the awkwardness of Nunex's first visit to the country, how he laughed at the blind. And this style is very suitable. The use of character and language is appropriate and fluent, which I believe that the story is realistic. There is no clear religion in this story, as the people of blind do not have any habits of praying, and they do not have a corresponding God to worship. Music is their own religion, that they play music and sing together, and perhaps this is the only happiness that Nunex has found in the country of the blind. And here comes to the end of my video presentation. Thank you.